Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Erin Wright. I am Deputy General Counsel at the State Charter Schools Commission, and I am the person that is privileged to manage and oversee the petitions process. So thank you for joining us today. This is something that we do every year. The presentation today is really intended to familiarize petitioners with our portal, which is the mechanism by which you have to submit your petition to the State Charter Schools Commission, and also with our budget templates, which is something that you are required to submit with your petition. So there's kind of two parts to this presentation today. So we'll start off with, and I'm going to start off just generally with a couple of overview topics, just kind of reminders if you were with us for our petitioner boot camp, just some very high level things to remind you about our upcoming, well, the portal is now open, so our current petition cycle, and then we'll move into portal and budget templates. I do want to say we are recording this presentation, and we will make that recording available on our website in the next few days. So if if there's a question that you have or something you want to refer back to, just know that we are recording this. Okay, so we'll get started. So just to remind you again, we like to start off a lot of our presentations with this. The State Charter Schools Commission has a mission. Oh, how do I go back, Kristen? I clicked. Thank you. The State Charter Schools Commission has a mission to improve public education by authorizing high-quality charter schools that provide students with better educational opportunities than they would otherwise receive in traditional district schools. And we have a new vision that was adopted a couple of years ago in line with our strategic plan, which is innovative and superior charter schools advancing education in every community. So I just want to remind you again about our startup petition timeline for this year. The portal opened on Monday. So if you've had a chance to go ahead and get in there and kind of look around, we have a link to that portal on our website, on our Start a School page. And Kara Thompson is going to go through how to, if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, or if you have any questions, Kara is going to walk us through today how to create an account in the portal and kind of maneuver in there and create your petition. The petitions are due on March 15th, 2024. All petitions have to be submitted through that portal. And then petitions that make it through our budget screen and legal compliance and substantive review, interviews for those petitions will start on June 3rd, 2024. We're planning for those interviews to be scheduled over the course of anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, starting June 3rd, 2024. And then we are anticipating that our recommendations on those petitions would start to be made to our commission in July 2024. So just to remind you one more time what the petition consists of, and you'll see this when Kiara walks you through the portal, how it's set up. We have three main parts to our petition. The first part is the narrative section. The other part is the budget template, which Carmen will walk you through that today. And then we also have required documents that you have to upload with your petition. And then finally, I want to take a moment to remind you about the next time you will hear from us during this cycle, which is our petition orientation training. That is something new that we are doing this year. So all petitioners this year are going to be required to view that petition orientation. It's going to be asynchronous, and it's going to be made available on our website on January 12th, 2024. And the point of that orientation is really to clarify our expectations for the petition surrounding, the petition narrative, budget templates, capacity interview, kind of tips and tricks kind of a thing, because we just want to provide you as much help and assistance as we can in advance of you submitting that petition by March. So when you get into the portal, you'll see that there is a new task that requires you to upload a certificate of completion that certifies that you've viewed the petition orientation. And the person, and you'll see this in the instructions, the person that has to view that petition orientation is the person who is submitting the petition. So when you go into the petition, it asks you for the name of the petitioner, the contact information for the petitioner, and so that's the individual that will need to view the petition orientation and upload the certificate of completion. Petitions that don't include that certificate of completion may be withdrawn from further review and not considered for approval this year. If you want, like I said, we put the date that it's going to be available on our website by, which is January 12th, but if you want, you can also sign up for our newsletter. If you go to our website, there's, and you scroll to the very bottom, I believe, you can sign up for our newsletter. We're going to put notice in that as soon as the orientation is available for viewing. We're also going to update the petition itself with a link to that orientation once it's available. And as a courtesy, we'll also be reaching out, sending an email to all of the individuals who have an account in the portal for the petition, fiscal year 24 petition. We'll be sending an email correspondence to them with information about how to view the orientation once it's available. And last, I just want to reference our resources. We have completely redesigned our Start a New School webpage on the website. We've been putting a lot more content on there and guidance just to try to help you all through the cycle. So if you, we encourage you to go visit that website, kind of explore, look around, look at all of that new content that's on there. We do have the petitioner bootcamp recording on there and the slides. So if you didn't have a chance to join us last month, I highly encourage that you go back and view that bootcamp recording. We've also got information about our petition priorities on there, information about relevant laws and policies that you want to make sure that you are aware of and considering when you're developing your petition. We've also put a sample charter contract on our website, which is important because sometimes we have some requirements in our charter contract that might not be in law. So we thought it would be helpful to put that on there for you so that you could be familiar with what your obligations would be if you were to be approved. And then, like I said, we have a lot of new guidance documents on our website as well. So encourage you to go check out our new website. If after reviewing all of those materials, you still have questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And with that, I am going to kick it over to Kiara Thompson, our legal programs coordinator, who is going to walk you through the portal.
Hello. Yes, so like Erin said, we are going to briefly go over the petition application in the portal. Let me see if I control. Oh, I do. Great. Okay. Wait, there's an additional slide that is not showing up, but that's okay. So like previous years, petitions must be submitted through our online portal. We do not accept petitions in any other format but through our portal. So I'm going to go over how to access the petition online and talk about some certain elements of the petition. So you can access the portal through our website. So we're going to click on the SCSC website here. So scSC.georgia.gov. Hopefully you are familiar with our website by now, but if not, this is the website. So to access the petition, you're first going to go to the Start a School tab here, hover over it, and then you'll see Start a New School. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to scroll down until you see the FY24 Startup Petition Application. Once you click Apply here, you'll be taken to the online portal. So read these instructions, and then once you have read that, you will click Apply. And then you're going to put in the name of your proposed charter school. So the school that I am petitioning to start is the best charter school. I'm going to select create an application, and then I'm going to have to log in as myself. All right, and I'm logged in now. And so now you'll see that an application has been created. I've actually already started an application, so we are just going to ignore this new one I've created and go to the one that I have already started. So as you can see here, the only thing you can do at this point is review the petition instructions. All the other tasks that you must complete cannot be accessed until you have completed this first section here. So once you click on it, this task is just confirming that you have read the instructions. So before you complete this task, please take several moments to read the petition instructions. Once you click on the link, it will automatically populate. Very important that you review this first before beginning your application and continuously review it as you complete your application to ensure you understand all of the SCSC's requirements. So once you have reviewed that, you will select this acknowledgement here. I've already selected it, so I'm gonna hit mark as complete. Once you select mark as complete, the rest of the petition application will be available for you to complete. At this point, you don't necessarily have to complete all these different tasks in order. You can go out of order if you would like, but we will go in order for the purpose of this presentation. So next, we're going to go to petitioner information. Petitioner information, this is important. You need to ensure that your contact information here is accurate. This is what we'll use to get in contact with you about the status of your petition. Also with this, and this is just a general thing to keep in mind, you're going to want to ensure that everything you have in your petition is consistent and accurate. We may ask for the same information several times in the petition. For example, the attendance zone that you'll be serving or the grade bands you'll be serving. In the past, we've had petitioners submit inconsistent information, and that's just very confusing on our part. So please ensure accuracy and consistency throughout your petition. I also forgot to add, once you have to create an account through our application in order to access the petition. If you have already applied with us previously, you will probably already have an account. If not, you can sign up for an account. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to mark this as complete. And next is enrollment information. Again, so you're going to be asked here to give us really specific numbers about the your enrollment and your grade bands that you plan to serve. Please, please, please ensure proper matriculation here, meaning like, you know, if you serve 20 kindergarteners one year, you want to see at least 20 in first grade the next year. And also ensure that you're completing this total column here. We also ask for these numbers in the budget template as well. Ensure that it is consistent and accurate on both of these. And then you'll be asked a few other questions. I'm going to mark this as complete. Next is school overview. This is just very general information about the petition. As you can see here, I believe all of our text boxes have word limits. The word limit will be described somewhere in the application. As you can see here, I think all of these have a 250 word limit. So just keep that in mind while you're doing your response. I think if you max out of your word limit, you will not be able to submit your petition. So just keep that in mind while you complete this. And we will move on to academics, operations, governance, and finance. So this is the real meat of the petition, as I like to say. We asked very, very specific questions here about the petition and your plan. And we just have a few new questions here that I want to highlight. Most of our questions are pretty similar from last year, but we have added a few different ones. So we're going to go to question 9 first. So again, you want to ensure like whatever attendance zone you're actually applying for is consistent throughout the petition. So whatever you put up in the petitioner information, it should match in this section as well. So there are different questions that will populate based on your selections for some questions. Question 9 is an example of this. Defined attendance zone and the statewide attendance zone have additional questions. So I say I selected defined attendance zone. A couple of additional questions popped up. If I select statewide, an additional question pops up. Okay. So we will move on, and then I want to go to question 16 as well. Similar thing, if you are pursuing a charter high school, if you select yes, there is an additional question that you must complete. And then question 18, if you plan to serve virtual or hybrid learning, when you select yes, an additional question will populate. And then we're going to scroll all the way down to question 46. This question is optional, meaning that it's an option for you to provide this information or not. So there is a text box here and an upload file here. Both are optional. And then we're going to go to question 50. If you have previously applied to the SCSC before and we denied your application, you have an additional question to answer. If you select yes, it'll populate here. And then lastly, question 51, if you plan to contract with an educational services provider or an ESP, there are several questions that need to be complete in addition to that. So for the purposes of my petition, I'm just going to select no. Okay, let's move on to concurrent submission. Okay. So basically, unless you are submitting a petition for a statewide virtual school, you will need to complete some type of concurrent submission requirement. So this question asks you, are you only serving a statewide virtual or for applying for a statewide virtual school? If the answer is yes, you can move on. Nothing else needs to be complete. If the answer is no, there are some additional questions. So review the petition instructions again. This is something you want to reference throughout your petition to ensure that you understand all the requirements needed for the defined attendance zone. If your school will serve a defined attendance zone, there are some more requirements that we have. You have to upload your proof of concurrent submission. And let's say, yes, we're serving a defined attendance zone. One thing that we are requiring this year in the petition is that if you are serving a defined attendance zone and will have submitted your local petition to the local school district you're proposing to locate in by the SCSC petitions deadline, which is March 15th, 2024, you must upload the local petition. And once you select petitioner has submitted a petition to the local school district by March 15th, 2024, the upload option will populate here. If you will not have submitted your local petition by the SCSC petition deadline, you must send the local petition upon submission to the local school district to Aaron Wright. There is additional instructions here for how to do that, and there are some assurances that need to be complete. Once you've done that, you're going to sign below here. You can see it, my awful sign signature here. Say yes, and we're going to move on. Oh, it didn't like that. Sometimes the portal is finicky, so you just want to make sure that your answers are complete and accurate before it'll let you move on. So it's hopefully that made it happy. Okay, yes, we're able to move on now. Okay, next is assurances and signatures. So these are just assurances that we want you to acknowledge and agree to, and there are some signatures required at the end. So you have to select each of these assurances in order to move on. I've already pre-selected all of them, and then complete the rest of this and sign. All right, next, the petition is going to ask you to upload a bunch of documents at this point, including your certificate of incorporation. And I do want to point out something here. Once you upload documents, you can edit the title of the document within the petition. So I have already uploaded this document, but if I click on these three dots and select edit, I can change the title of this document. And then select mark as complete. The next thing you were asked is to upload your bylaws and then upload resumes. I just want to offer a tip here. It is very helpful for us if you upload the resumes individually instead of just one big PDF. And then next is upload agreements with third parties. This is an optional task. If you have any agreements with third parties, this is where you would upload them. Upload agreements reflecting any partnerships. For here, please read these example letters. This will show you like what is sufficient evidence of a partnership before you complete this task. Okay, next is budgets. So Carmen's going to do a deep dive about the budget template in a second, so I'm going to be very general here. One thing that is new, and let me reset this. You must complete the budget submission acknowledgement and sign off before you can even access any of the budget related tasks. So as you can see here, I am unable to select these tasks, these budget templates here, and then the upload documentation of additional revenue and the upload evidence to support budget expenses. So you must complete this, acknowledge that you understand the following and sign it, mark as complete, and then you'll be able to move on to the budget templates. So for the 100% and 65% budget templates, you will click on this link and it will download the template. It's downloaded here. I'm not going to open it because I know Carmen is about to go over it after I'm complete. You must use our template. That is what you just agreed to when you completed the budget submission acknowledgement. The uploads also must be in Excel docs. I don't even think the portal will allow you to upload anything but an Excel document. And please read the instructions that are in the template in the portal, and of course the petition instructions. So once you have uploaded the budgets, if you have any additional revenue, you'll upload it here. Oh, this is only if you secured additional revenue that you have included in your budget. If you include any additional revenue in your budget, you must provide proof of that revenue. And then the last budget related task is, this is a new one. You have to upload evidence to support budget expenses. So this is quotes, price, like catalog prices, any communications that show evidence of expenses. Okay. So the next one, upload curriculum documentation. This is also a new one. So there is a template here like the budget templates. Please use our template that we have here. You're going to download this. Let's see if I can open it. Read the instructions in the portal and complete this template. And once you've completed that, you will also upload a preliminary scope and sequence for either math or ELA. And we are going to move on. There are some more uploads after this. So this organizational chart is another new one. Just, upload the organizational chart that details the relationship between the governing board and individuals that are designated on the LEA staffing plan. Also, if you have an ESP, there's some additional instructions for you here. You'll also be asked to upload your school year schedule and daily schedule. If you have any agreements with local districts or schools, this is an optional one, only if you have these agreements to submit with your petition. Upload a copy of the school's admissions policy, upload facility information, and upload a copy of the admissions application. So we're going to move to community engagement information. This is another new requirement that we have. So the template for this one is actually embedded in the application. I'm going to try to zoom out if that's okay, so we can see this a little better. So you will use this chart to give us information about any community engagement you have done. This table is big, but you can view the entire table by using the scroll bar. As you can see, I've added an example one here. You only have to, or you are only required to complete the first row of the chart. Of course, if you have more than one community engagement event to share with us, you can add up to 5, but only the first one is required. Also here, you can make the boxes bigger by dragging them down. I like to do that when I'm completing applications like this. And then in addition to that, you must upload supporting documentation of your community engagement event. So for my example event, it was a meeting with parents and students. As my evidence, I have included a sign-in sheet. Okay, I'm going to select mark as complete. We are near the end. Okay, so next you will be asked to complete some conflict of interest forms. So read these instructions and then you will select, so all governing board members and administrators involved in the application process must complete a conflict of interest form. So you're just going to select how many conflict of interest forms you need to complete based on that information. And then that many forms will populate after you select mark as complete. So for the purposes of this, I just need to complete one. I'm the sole person working on this petition. So once you do that, you will have a conflict of interest form populate. It's going to ask you some questions, and then it's also going to ask you to sign it and give some contact information. We're almost done. Okay, so the last few things, upload additional information. So this is anything that's not captured within the other parts of the application. It's limited to, read the instructions because it's limited to these two things. This is optional. Of course, you don't have to complete this if you do not have the things that are in this instructions here. The next thing is a new one, as Aaron said earlier in the PowerPoint, is once you have to complete of course you have to watch the petitions orientation, and once you have watched the orientation, you will receive a certificate of completion. This is where you upload that certificate of completion. And last thing, this is another new thing. All tasks must be completed before this one will open for you. Excuse me. This acknowledges that you must submit the petition for the SCSC to receive it. We added this in because in the past, there is some confusion about what submitting the petition actually is. As you can see, as I was going through this, I was marking task as complete. That is not the same as submitting submitting the petition. So once everything is complete, you will complete this task and then be able to submit it here. And then that is the end of the petition. I just want to also highlight a couple of tips that I find really helpful. Let's go back to the main page. I can add collaborators to my petition. So although I completed this one on my own, I imagine that is not common. I'm sure all of you have multiple people that are working on your petition. So you can add people to also access your petition. You select this add collaborator button here. You'll type in their email, and you can specify if you want them to view and edit the petition only, or just view it. So I'm going to add Kristen as my collaborator. We are now working on this petition together. And whoever you add, they will get an email that invites them to create an account on the portal, and then they'll have access to the petition. Also, download your petition. So once you've completed the petition, if you select on these three dots here at the top, you can download it. Really, really highly recommend downloading your petition once you have submitted it to the SCSC for your own records. And then lastly, please, before you submit your petition, review it for consistency and accuracy. Okay, I think that is all for the demo. And then I just have a couple more slides. I could get back to the slides. Kristen, I may need your help. Thank you. All right. Oh, there's my slide that was missing. Okay. So yeah, I just gave you some portal tips. This reiterates a lot of what I just said. So you may already have an account. You can also update like your email address and name and password on the account using the account settings. Also, please ensure you are able to receive emails from the portal. It's hosted by SM Apply. There is an article linked here. You'll have access to this presentation, so you'll be able to review it. That goes through like the steps you'll need to do just to ensure that you receive emails from us. We communicate through the portal about the status of your petition. So please ensure that is that you're able to receive emails through that. Again, you must click submit for the SCSC to receive your petition. Selecting mark as complete does not submit your petition to the SCSC. Again, download your petition. And we, went over this while we were going through the application on the portal, but just to reiterate the new requirements, uploading evidence to support budget expenses is new, curriculum documentation, the organizational chart, the concurrent submission, local petition submission is a new thing that we've added in the portal. The community engagement information, certificate of completion for petitioner orientation, and the submission acknowledgement are all new requirements. Okay. That concludes what I have.
Kara, we had a question I was holding for you until you finished because I wanted to make sure that we answered it accurately. Were you done? I'll go ahead and ask the question.
Yes, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, we had a question that said, after you mark a section complete, can you go back and edit it?
You can, yes. Only once you submit it, you cannot go back and edit it. I can go back and show that real quick. Kristen, I probably need your help. Thank you. Wait, I see the PowerPoint now. Thank you. Yeah, so for example, if I wanted to go back and edit something on the academics, operations, and governance and finance task, I would click on these three dots here and select edit, and it'll reopen it for me. And then once I'm done with it, I just scroll all the way down. This is a very long one, so hold on. And select mark as complete. And then it will save it again. So marking it as complete really is it's more for you than it is for us. It is just a way for you to kind of like check the box that you got it done. And if it temporarily like makes it uneditable, but once you select edit, it'll reopen. I hope that answers your question.
And then we had one other question about the portal. It said, is it possible to get a copy of the elements of the petition via a document format so we can prepare the responses in advance of uploading the information in the portal? And I guess you would probably suggest you can download the petition before you complete any of the tasks, right? And that'll basically be a blank petition for you, like in a hard copy format?
That is correct, yeah. So that same three dots that I just showed where edit was an option, also download is an option. So you can download the blank petition without having to actually like complete any information.
And then you could print that if you wanted a hard copy.
Yes.
Okay. And then we had one other question about attendance zone, which is, I'll answer real quick. It said, if the school is looking to serve students from 5 different counties, would you apply for a statewide or defined attendance zone? So I would refer you back again to the petitioner boot camp recording that is on our website. We had several slides that walked through attendance zone and how you would choose an attendance zone. We also have on our website under petition guidance, we have a attendance zone and concurrent submission guidance document that we've created this year that is helpful to decide. But basically there is an expectation, a definition for choosing a statewide attendance zone. And it's also in our petition instructions, which Kira referenced at the beginning of the petition. You have to read our petition instructions before you can move on. And that also includes our definition of statewide attendance zone. But a statewide attendance zone, you would select that if you are intending to serve students and recruit students from a majority of the school districts in Georgia. And the petition will require you to submit evidence of community engagement, basically, from a majority, like that there's evidence that students are interested in your school from a majority of the school districts in Georgia. So again, go back and look at the petitioner boot camp, go back and look at that guidance document that's on our website about attendance zones, and then you can also look at the petition instructions at the beginning of the petition for those definitions. And that, I think that's all the questions that we have for your portion, Kira. And I failed to mention this at the beginning of the webinar. If you have questions, feel free to enter them in as we're going along, and we'll make sure to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Erin. Again, also, if you have experience any issues or have any questions while you're working through the petition application, that's like specifically related to the application itself and not the contents, feel free to reach out to me, and I will be happy to assist you.
So we'll go ahead and pass it over to Carmen now. Does she have control, Kristen? Right now. Do you have control, Carmen? Do you know if you can click to the next slide?
Let me see. Right now, I can't show my screen.
You can click through.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to test this real quick. It is not letting me. Okay. I think there's just a delay. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for participating in today's webinar. We're going to go through the budget template. I just want to do a few reminder slides regarding the template before we actually go into the template itself. So the next slide here, if I can, why isn't it not? Okay. It's not letting me go forward. Could someone hit go the next slide for me? Okay, thank you. Okay, so as Kira was saying, there is an instructions template page on the template. Please make sure you read those instructions carefully. Also, you will build your school budget using this template. But remember, the template is really a reflection of your petition. Also, there is a staffing plan that I'm going to walk you through. One of the things I just want to remind you of is that this staffing plan is not actually linked to the budget tab. So make sure that any positions you're entering into that staffing plan are also reflected on the template. Also, cash balances, you want to make sure that you are staying in the positive territory for your budget. Obviously, you don't want to be in the red, and there are checks within the budget template that allow you to see this. Also, you want to obviously have a positive operating cash balance each year. Georgia law requires a school district, which as a state charter LEA you would be, not to be operating, not to have a negative cash flow. So it's very important that you have a positive cash flow for each year. Your cash flow projections, the template actually goes from planning year to year 5, but for the cash flow projections for more realistic kind of forecast, we just concentrate on the planning year, year 1 and year 2. Also, one of the things that you will need to be aware of is you're actually going to do this exercise twice. So we'll go to the next slide, please. And so the template that is in the portal, as Kara was saying, is the template you must use. It has been updated for FY24. So if you have an old template that you used and you're going to use it, again, don't do that. You have to please make sure you use this particular budget template. Also, make sure that any details that are in your petition are reflected in the budget template, because this is really your petition with your budget template constitutes a business plan. So you want to make sure that any costs that you have reflected in your petition are actually in this budget template as well. Also, make sure that you do the upload. Kira went through all of that, how you submit. As I explained before, you're going to be submitting 2 versions of this budget. You're going to be submitting a version where you are at 100% enrollment and another at 65% enrollment, which will affect your revenues. You can move to the next slide, please. As I've said, this is not a math exercise. This is actually putting together a business plan. So this budget template should be part and parcel with your petition. It also helps you to understand the mechanics of school funding, how revenue and really is driven by your enrollment, and also how you can see your potential enrollment. How is it going to affect how much staff you can hire, your facilities, and so on and so forth. So it helps you to make kind of difficult, sometimes very difficult decisions as you are putting your business plan for your future school together. Now, the 2 budgets, as I explained, you have a 65% budget and a 100% budget. So you're going to be basically doing 2 budget templates. You're going to use the same template. You're just going to save a new version depending on what percent you're working on at that particular time. We can move to the next slide. So what will happen is when you're actually working and you're getting into the portal and you're actually going to be working on this, there is a disclaimer here. So the budget template is based on the revenues that we know are influencing QBE for fiscal year 24. Now, if your school actually opens and is operating, your planning year would be fiscal year 25, and your actual first year of operation would be fiscal year 26. So obviously that's a 2-year difference. So we want to make sure that you understand that what you are working with is an estimate of your state revenue. Federal revenue is not included in the budget template because there are just too many factors that influence that, and it really cannot be realistically portrayed in the budget template. And it's also going to be a much smaller portion of your operating budget. So it only reflects your state funds. And so basically what this disclaimer is basically saying is the numbers you're going to see in this budget template as it populates is in no way going to be what you're actually going to see once your school becomes operational. We can go to the next slide, please. And then here you're going to be signing off. Basically, you're going to acknowledge the things that I just talked about, that you're going to, the information that you're putting in accurately reflects what your petition says. Also, what we want to make sure of is any additional revenue that you are adding in there, like let's say, hey, I'm going to get a grant, or hey, I'm going to get these donations. You got to have proof that you actually received these funds. So this acknowledgement page kind of says all of those different things. So we're going to move to the next slide. So the revenue in the budget template actually automatically populates based on the number of students that you're entering based on what you think the configuration for your school will be. And when we walk through the budget template, this will become much clearer. One of the things that we want to make sure that you do not fall into are traps that we normally see a lot. So overestimating how many students you're going to be able to enroll. Overestimating the training and experience of your teachers. New schools, it's traditionally difficult to get experienced teachers, so you want to make sure you're clear on what your staffing plan is going to be. Also, as I spoke to before, including unguaranteed revenue. So if you are saying you're going to get $1, you've got to prove that you actually have someone who's going to give you that $1. So we can go to the next slide. So just as with revenue, the expenses. So these are also things that we see. Traditionally, a lot of people underestimate how much it really costs to pay people. They underestimate how much their facilities are going to cost. They also forget that things happen, like AC breaks down, roofs get leaky, and so forth, so on and so forth. So want to make sure that you have funding for renovations. Also, there's a mismatch between what is in the petition and what is in the template. So again, if you have any expenses, your academic program, really nicely laid out in your petition. If you don't have any costs related to that in your budget template, there is a mismatch there, again, so that your petition and your template are not really in sync, so your business plan is out of whack. Also, not explaining expenses that don't have, if you have an expense but you have zero. So let's say you're buying furniture, you have student furniture, but it's donated. Again, you can use your notes section. I'll explain what the notes section is. Make sure that you, if you have those types of donated services or donated goods, that you put that in your budget template and note that it is a donation, and also have adequate proof that those donations have been made. This last bullet is not visible on your screen, but basically amortization of expenditures inappropriately. So what happens is there are some costs that are going to be the same every single month, such as salaries, such as rent. There are other things that are going to hit big at certain times of the year. Assessment is a big one, but it's not something that's going to happen every single month. So you're not going to cost that out as though it happens every single month. You're going to cost it out when it occurs, and this influences your cash balances and your cash flow. So you want to make sure that when you are costing out everything, that you're being accurate in where and what month it's going to hit. We can go on to the next slide. And so now we're going to go into the budget template demo, and I am going to start to share my screen. Okay, and now let's see here. Where is, okay, let me pull my, okay, here we go. So all of you right now, if you can just say in the chat, can you see the budget template? You should see something that says instructions on your sheets. Can you see that? You can type it in the chat.
We can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so as I said, here is your instruction sheet. I am not going to bore you and read through this. Suffice it to say, this is a very detailed instruction sheet. It walks you through every single section of the budget template, how to complete it, what the assumptions are, where your revenue comes from, how your expenses should be inputted. Also, we have a section for contingency funds, and what a contingency fund is kind of like your piggy bank. So you put money into your piggy bank to save for things that might happen unexpectedly. If you have the leftover revenue to do that, also your contingency fund, like your piggy bank, if something goes wrong and you need some money, you pull it out of the contingency fund. So that's what the contingency fund is for. Also, within the budget template, it will show you if you are in a surplus or if you are in a deficit. As I said before, you cannot be in a deficit, so this budget template helps you to see where you might be going over budget. Also, we have our cash balances, which again will show you from month to month where you're going to be in your operating cash flow. And then you will also have your cash flow projections for your planning years, year 1 and year 2. So when you actually open this, what'll happen is this will actually be all blank. This obviously is filled out so that it's easier for you to understand. But when you actually open this, I'm going to see if this is going to work now. No, it's not. Okay, so basically what'll happen is this will be blank. I entered all of this information so that through this demo, you could see something nicely, completely filled out. All of these numbers are completely made up. So as I walk through this, you will be able to see I'm going to delete things, I'm going to change some numbers, so you can see how this page then feeds into the following tabs. So first off, what I do want to show you is a benefits and salary calculator. I have put this together. This is actually not part of the template, but for ease in this demonstration, so I wasn't flipping through a lot of different files, I just added it as a tab here. This is a separate tool that you will be able to download from the portal. And what this allows you to do is this allows you to see what a true salary is going to cost. And what I call that is full freight. So that's salary plus benefits. Now this one is here for fiscal year 24. I put in this information for historical purposes, just so you can see where there is some fluctuation, where there's not. Usually you will see fluctuation in the state health benefit plan percentage, as well as the teacher retirement system, TRS. Now, let's say you plan to hire your teachers and you plan that the salary for your teachers is going to be $55,000. So as you can see, that's the salary. But then when you add the full freight in, the cost of each of your teachers actually goes up to about $87,000. Now, let's say you have another position that is not going to be a teacher, and they are not going to be part of TRS. They're going to be part of a different pension plan maybe that you're offering, and let's say that's 17%. So this allows you to change your percentages so notice how this now went down to a little over 85,000. So this allows you to kind of change up some of the percentages. If you're not sure, I would just recommend that you just leave them where they are, because it's better to err that you have a little more fat in your budget than you don't have enough fat and then you can't fit in your jeans anymore. So you want to make sure that you are accurately reflecting what a full freight salary is going to cost. So this is a tool that is part of the portal. I would recommend that you download it. You do not have to use this if you don't want to, but I find that this might be helpful as you put your budget together to have a realistic expectation of what your staff is going to cost you. Speaking of staff, we have a staffing plan. So this is part of the budget template, and on this column here, these are typical functions that a school district has to fulfill. So we have student enrollment and admissions, student data collection, and so on and so forth. In this column is where you are going to list whatever staff position name you're going to use in your petition to reflect if that person is going to be doing one or more of these LEA functions. Again, remember, a state charter school is like a mini school district, also known as a local education agency, hence LEA. So the other thing, once you complete this part, and again, here you're actually going to put in the positions that are from your petition into this so that we know who's going to be doing these different functions. Now, in column D, there is a drop-down menu, because in the budget template, because we can't comprehend all of the different titles that a school might be using for its staff, we've kind of condensed it to these. So you would choose, for example, if you were doing a student enrollment and admissions person, maybe that's your director of operations, or however you want to do that, but you would pick from this particular menu. Now, if you will notice in this staffing plan that I've done, notice I have two people. I have one person who is in essence handling two LEA functions. That person is in the pink. And then this person who's in the green, that person is actually handling 4 different LEA functions. This also helps you to see how your staff is spread. So it might be that you might have one person, after you look at this, maybe I have this federal programs coordinator maybe doing too much, or maybe I don't have somebody doing enough. So this also helps you to kind of look at your staffing plan to see where somebody might be able to pick up something or drop something else. And then here you're going to put in the staffing amount that you expect that this person is going to cost. This is where this salary and benefits calculator will come in handy. Now, you would put in this information. You're going to hard code this in. It does not link into the budget template. The benefits calculator here is not linked here. So you would just be hard coding this into this column E. Then on column F, what you're going to do is when you put in this position, you're going to then identify which row we can find, because what's going to happen is you're going to submit your budget, you're going to submit your petition. We're going to get a lot of these. And so it's easy for us to be able to make these tiebacks. We would really appreciate if you would please enter in the row number that identifies this particular position that you've identified in the staffing plan. So I'm going to pause it here. If you ask a question that is more involved, what we are going to ask is that we address it offline. So if anyone has any questions at this point, I'm just going to pause here for a minute before we actually do a deep dive into the actual budget template. So does anyone have any questions? And I'll ask my colleagues if they see anything.
No, I haven't seen any pop up.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and move on. So now we're going to be into the budget template. What you want to do is you want to start from here. As I was explaining, this is a 5-year budget. Your planning year based on this year's cycle is your planning year would be fiscal year 2025. The state follows a fiscal year that starts July 1 and ends June 30th. So this would be your planning year would be fiscal year 2025, which will start next year. Your year 1 would be fiscal year 2026, the year after, all the way out to fiscal year 2030, which is year 5. So it's a 5-year planning. So it's basically planning year plus all of your operational years. And this will basically take you to the next renewal cycle. Now, here is your assumptions page. Right here, the assumptions section of the budget template is something you are going to need to complete, because particularly this part when you have your students, this is going to then populate your revenue here. Now, I'm not going to go into the different revenue streams. Just know that the preponderance of your state funding is going to come from QBE. There are other trainings that the State Charter Schools Commission is going to be providing or has provided regarding how schools are funded. So I would ask that you go there to get in-depth information about what you're seeing in this budget template. So suffice it to say, a lot of what you put in here is then going to affect what you're going to see down here in your revenues. Also, the way this is set up, if there is a hard-coded formula that I do not want you to change, it is password protected. So you cannot accidentally delete a formula in this revenue portion. So don't worry that you're accidentally going to mess something up. One of the things I will ask also is we have added extra rows within this budget template to give you some flexibility. If there's some cost that we have not anticipated, you can add it here. So here you see like a blank row here. Do not enter or add cells or rows or columns to this template, because everything is tied back to something else. And if you do that, you will kind of basically break the spreadsheet, and then it won't work for you. And you're going to have to start all over again. And if you're like me, that's going to annoy you, and you don't want to do that. So leave it the way it is. Hopefully this is nice and tight and does everything that you need it to do. So don't try to trick it out or fix it or add anything that you want to add. Now, the notes piece. If this is what I was talking about, all this is basically if you're going to have something donated, or anything that you would like us to know about, let's say payroll services, right? So you notice there's no cost here for payroll services. And so it might be that, my Aunt B is going to do this for free, is providing for free, okay? So you would put that in so we could see, oh, well, Aunt B is really nice and she's providing these services pro bono. If you don't put that, we're going to be like, okay, well, how do they plan to pay? Are they doing it in-house? What are they doing? So this is where your notes section comes into play, and also where you can put information from your template that you might want to bring over to your budget template so it makes things a little clearer when we're looking at your budget. Because one of the things I do is I review the petitions and I review the templates, the budget templates at the same time, to see if I'm seeing what's reflected in the petition is reflected in the budget. So again, please make use of the notes page. Now, here is your student enrollment section up here in your assumptions. So what I want to show you here is, now I set this up so that we're actually going to have virtual kids and we're actually going to have bricks and mortar kids, and we're going to have children in every single grade. Now, obviously, most likely none of you are going to have this type of scenario, but what I wanted to show you was, so for example, let's say here we have students in kindergarten 50, but let's say you're going to have 125. So what'll happen is down here right now we have state revenue of about 6.6 million. If I ramp this up to 125, what's going to happen is now your revenue, notice it's now at 7.4. So everything that you hard code here is going to influence your revenue. So one of the things that, as I was talking about in the slide portion of this, don't work your enrollment numbers to make your budget work, because you don't want to be rosy in your enrollment projection, and then if that doesn't pan out, your whole school is going to be really hard pressed to make things work because you don't have enough kids to support all the staff, all the things, quote unquote, that your school has. So the opposite is also true. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out all of these kids in middle school and high school from the budget template. And so what you'll see here now is the revenue now went down to 6.8 because I kept the kindergartners at the 125. So again, be very intentional into how you set up your enrollment, and don't try to make these numbers work so that your petition works. Down here, again, as I said, once you've entered your enrollment numbers, this is why these state funding pieces will come out, because you're putting in your projected student enrollment. Now, the other thing here, these are just assumptions that you're putting in. These actually have no influence on the template itself, but one of the things here, you're going to put hard code your student teacher ratio. I see this a lot. Sometimes there'll be a low student teacher ratio, but then when I'm looking at the total amount of salaries and based on how many teachers it looks like you're going to hire, and then how many students you're actually going to project that you're going to have, these numbers don't match up. So again, make sure that your student teacher ratios are actually reflective of the salaries and costs you're actually going to incur with your school. Now, this is your average teacher salary. You know, whatever you end up actually paying people is going to be different. But again, you can estimate what your average teacher salary is going to be. You can ask if you're going to offer a school nutrition program. One of the things I will warn you about is it is hard to stand up a nutrition program. So what you might want to do is make this a no in year one, so that you don't overestimate your revenue, because from what I've seen, it usually takes longer than what you think. And also be aware that the school nutrition program does not cover all the costs of a school nutrition program. So most likely providing lunch is maybe going to cost you $4 a student, but you're only going to be reimbursed $3. So you need to keep those things in mind. Also, are you going to offer a transportation program? Those are decisions you're going to make. So I have this populated as no, but you can also, populated as yes, but you can also populate as no. The other piece here is make sure you put in your school name, please. Here is where you will indicate is if this is your 100% budget or your 65% budget. One of the things I did want you to notice, just because I selected 65, if I could do it, I would, but mathematically it's really hard to do this in Excel. Your numbers are not going to change. You are simply indicating that this is your 100% or your 65%. So when you're working on whichever budget, make sure as you're changing numbers that you are in the correct version of the budget template so you don't accidentally make changes to something you didn't mean to make changes to. Down here is your number of full-time employees. One of the things I wanted to make you aware of, there is a section here for number of certified employees. Teachers earn supplements through basically extra funding through the QBE formula for health insurance and training experience that other staff within your school are not going to earn. So there is a specific place where you enter how many teachers you're going to have. So notice here we have 34 and 34 here, because here we're asking not just for the number of teachers, but how many of your teachers are actually going to be eligible for T&E and health insurance. And this does not subtotal all of this, because if you did, you would be double counting your teachers. So just make sure that you hard code enter this number into the spreadsheet. The instructions do explain this as well, but I just felt it was good to remind you of this here. There's also little notes in here about certain things that you need to be doing. So notice here cells 31 to 41 are locked due to those formulas that I spoke about before. So basically, once you enter all that in, then you're going to have basically what your revenue is. Then you're going to come in and your expenses. These you have to hard code in because they're going to be reflective of your petition. So make sure you enter these correctly, accurately, and that they all reflect what's in your petition. Also make sure you use your notes page. And these go through all the way from personnel to services and supplies, and this is based on the chart of accounts that the state has set up. So these are things that you are actually going to be seeing as costs for your school. Also, facilities, make sure that you include information that is market-based. So if you're looking at certain school sites, make sure you have a good understanding of how much it's really going to cost you. Because if you underestimate this, it is going to come back to haunt you and can really make things difficult if you cannot afford the facility that you are planning to house your school in. Also, make sure you include money for grounds and maintenance, renovations, facilities maintenance and repair, and so on and so forth, as well as if you are going to borrow money for costs. So just make sure that if you are going to have debt or anything like that, that you not only include the debt service, that you include any other finance costs that may be in there. As I said before, here's your contingency fund. This is your piggy bank. So here we estimate in year one, we're going to be able to put $25,000 in our piggy bank and $40,000 the following year. Now, in year four, things are not going to be so rosy, and we estimate we're going to need to take $20,000 out of the out of the budget for year four. So notice this is transfers in. This is a transfer out. Now, it's still a positive number because of the way the formulas are set up in here. Now, the following information here is all going to pre-populate based on the numbers you put up here. So down here, this shows if this is enrollment at 65%. So because this is the 100% budget, this is what your enrollment would be at 65%. This is how many teachers you would have at 65%. Now, if I change this over to the 65% here, what'll happen is this will just become ignore. And so this will just kind of flip over to ignore, and you don't have to worry about those numbers. This down here also, what it helps you to see is, so for example, your in this particular example, our principal and head of school in our planning year makes up of about 31% of our budget, which makes sense because your planning year, you're not going to have a ton of people. So the few people you are going to hire are going to take up more of your budget. But then that principal goes down to 2%, 1%, and so on and so forth. So this helps you also to see what percentage your expenses are taking up of your operating budget. It also can help you to see if you're being realistic in how you're setting out your budget. So all of these numbers just pre-populate for you. They're very helpful for planning. Also down here are checks. There are a lot of checks and balances set up in here, so you can see automatically if something is not working. So in here, all of our subtotals line up to 100%. So, we don't have expenses at 200% and so on and so forth. Also, do the total expenses equal 100%. So again, if something is wrong, and I'll show you when it goes wrong on other tabs, but this is all set up so if something goes wrong, hopefully you're going to notice it. So here we have our cash balances. So one of the things right here in our planning year, notice we are already in the red for the cash balances. So if we go back to our budget, and we look at the revenue for our planning year. So remember, the revenue for your planning year, you don't have any kids. You're not getting any state revenue. So any money that you have is either going to be from a grant, a donation, something. So in this example, we have $200,000 worth of revenue in our planning year, but what we are looking at in terms of our costs are 335, which again shows you that you're in a deficit. So you might have to look at either increasing what you can get for revenue, and again, you have to prove that you have the revenue, or you might have to trim back some of the operating costs that you have planned for your planning year. So notice the deficit goes away in your planning year, but then you have year 1, year 2, everything is in the green, so this is really good. If this flips, if this goes negative, this will flip to surplus. But notice your total cash balance for the beginning of year 1, because you are in the negative, and unless you have additional revenue that comes in, it's going to roll over to year 1, and so on and so forth. So again, your goal is to be positive and nice and green all the way from your planning year all the way to year 5. Then here are your cash flow projections. So remember before, your planning year, you're not going to have a lot of expenses. And also notice here your personnel. These are nice and even through the month because, most people get paid about the same amount each and every single month. So your salaries are easy to calculate. But then you might have other costs that again are just going to hit in one particular month for a large amount. So in this example, we have our classroom furniture. I'm just going to pause it real quick. Kristen, how much time do I have left?
Right about 15 minutes, just under 15.
Okay, fine. So I just want to keep in mind how much time I have. Thank you. So here, September, notice this 50,000 is not spread over 12 months because when is this going to hit? In September. The classroom people, unless you have it on some kind of payment plan, they're going to want their 50,000 when they deliver that furniture. So notice that's an expense that hits, but you're not going to see it costed out month to month. Also here, if something is not matching back to your tab in your budget, you're going to see that it's going to tell you no what you put in your budget and what you put here. So I'm going to change this to 30,000. Now, see this no? That means you want to go back to your budget and it tells you right here, it's row cell B92, you go back, you would see that it's 50,000. So you hard coded it incorrectly because again, you're hard coding in your cash flow and you want it to reflect what your budget template is saying. So we're going to flip, so you go back, you see what your mistake was, you hit 50,000, now you're okay. So again, if something is not matching, if you miss a month, it'll say no. So as you're filling this out, if you see a no, that's a red flag. That's why it turns red. So you go back to your budget template to see what's going on. Now, one of the things too you want to see here, remember we were in a cash flow deficit. These are all tied back. You see your cash flow deficit here. So again, you're going to have to look at, because you can't end the year in the negative, you want to make sure that you're in the positive. So you're going to have to go back and maybe rework your plan. So now we're going to year one. Now remember, year one is your first year operational as a school. Now what I did here, again, your salaries, you're going to see your salaries pretty much costed out the same month to month. Now, further down, we have expenses that are going to hit, for example, at specific times. So we have another here for classroom furniture. We have something here where textbooks are hitting in July for $85,000. Now here we have a no. So what would happen is, now because of time, I'm not going to go back to the budget template, but what you're going to want to do is go look at cell C92 and see how much that dollar amount really is, because clearly what you hard coded here is not what you have in your template. And again, this cash flow allows you to see, hey, based on what I'm budgeting, is my cash flow correct? And so if there's a mismatch, that's why you see anything that flips over to no, you're going to want to go back and make a correction. So you go all the way through, and if you are making additions, you would add to your piggy bank. Transfers out would also be things that you're going to pull out of your piggy bank. Now notice here, I have a no here. So in my year one, I actually did make an addition to the contingency fund, and it was $25,000. So I'm going to enter $25,000 here because I just forgot to put it in. And notice when I do that, it becomes yes. Now, let's say I put 20,000. Notice it still says no because you're not matching to what's actually in the budget template. So again, this helps to be, this whole system is set up as checks and balances so you can go back. And so here we have cash flow projections. Now notice what you want to look at is your red here. What expenses are hitting and how might you have to rethink the cost of something? Now do not artificially deflate something just because it's putting you in the negative. Maybe you need to look at, okay, we wanted to do this super duper computer thing and now we can't do this super duper computer thing. So that's what I'm talking about when you're putting a budget, just like when you're putting a household budget together, you sometimes have to make hard choices. So for example, I like to have electricity. I also like to have nice shoes. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'm going to put money towards my electricity. So obviously with the school, that's much more complicated, but that in essence is what you're doing. So you do your petition and then look at your budget template to make sure that what you envision is actually doable with the money that we are projecting that you're going to receive. So then we have the cash flow projection for year two. And again, it's the same principle. So things that are going to be costed out every single month or amortized, I can never say that word, every single month, you're going to see a nice even amount. Others, not so much. You're going to see things that hit larger amounts, but only specific times of the year. Also, if something is not lining up, you're going to want to look in here, find out where that cell reference is, go find that cell reference so that you can make sure that you are putting in the correct amount. So in this example, notice it's 317,158, but here everywhere else it's 217. So I just transposed it. I just put in an incorrect number. I fixed it. Notice boom, it says yes. So that's what this helps you to do. So basically that was a really quick and dirty for the budget template. But like I said, if you read the instructions and you make sure that your petition and your budget are reflective of each other, This tool is very helpful for you to see to make sure that you have a business plan that can be operationalized. So I'm going to stop it here because I do understand that there are some questions, and so we're going to allow time for questions here. Can someone read the questions for me? I'd appreciate it.
Sorry, Carmen, I'm jumping in. The first one, I'm not sure if we might need to refer them to Georgia Department of Education for federal programs. They said, I heard the presenter state that we should not include any federal dollars in the budget. Practically speaking, and of course, pending authorization, are public charters under the SCSC eligible for all title dollars in year one? I think
Yes. Yes,
I know you kind of have experience in that area, but
yes, and I'm actually going to be recording a virtual content session on federal grants management, and I will be addressing questions like that. But basically, if your school meets the eligibility requirements, and usually this is for the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, also the largest grant of that is Title 1A. If your school's student enrollment makeup, there's a lot of different factors. As long as you meet those criteria, you would be eligible for those funds. But because those things are based on census data, which we really can't reflect in our budget template, that is why I do not include it. And that's why you're not supposed to include it in your petition. Now, let's say you get a federal planning grant and you have proof that you have that revenue for that federal planning grant, then by all means include that. But when we're talking about title programs and IDEA, as long as your school has the characteristics for eligibility, then you would receive a grant. It's just not reflected here. And so if that does not address your question, my contact information is going to be shown up on the screen soon. You can email me independently, and I'd be happy to go into this with you more. And also, please look at the virtual content that we're going to be posting soon on this very topic. Next question.
Yes, we have one more. Do we include administrators who are certified or just teachers who are certified?
It will just be teachers. So if you have a I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure if you have a teacher who is serving in an administrative capacity, that they are not going to earn T&E and health insurance, but might be different if the person is serving as a principal. So if you could shoot me that email separately, and that way I can make sure I have the correct answer for you.
And Carmen, we did have a few questions about fiscal years, and so I just wanted to jump in here at the end and just clarify, when we have fiscal years in the budget, when we say fiscal year 24, for example, that is July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024. So that's what we call fiscal year 24. So I think we had some confusion just about what fiscal years mean.
Okay, so yes, so what would happen is fiscal year 24 is actually the 2023-2024 school year. So the easiest way to remember it is when you're looking at a school year, so there's the 23 versus the 24, because your school year ends in the following year. That's what's going to correspond to your fiscal year. So for fiscal year 25, it starts July 2024, ends June of 2025, which is the 2024-2025 school year. So it's fiscal year 25.
Okay, perfect. And that was all the questions we have that I can see.
Okay.
Kara, did you have anything else, Carmen, or you were?
No, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you, everybody, for your attention.
Oh, did you want to share your contact information? Actually, I think you said you were going to do that, or Kristen might hop to the end of the presentation.
I thought that was on the, yeah. So if you send an email there, it'll get directed to me. I think my email information is on our staff page.
Here, I'll put it in the, and I'll put it in the chat here.
Oh, yes, in the chat. You might.
I thought we have this chat, so I'll put her email in the chat as well. Okay, perfect. Kara, did you want to jump in and sign us off?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This concludes our webinar for today. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions, like Carmen said, our email and contact information is on our website on the staff page. This webinar recording and presentation will be available soon on our website, so look out for that and have a great rest of your day. Erin, did you want to add anything?
Nope. Just a reminder, the next time we'll see you guys is for the petition orientation, which is going to be asynchronous, but it will be available by January 12th on our website. So thank you, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.